Hi, first grade. It should be Monday, May 18th, and today we're going to go over some new trick words. We want to review the ones that we already learned, just to make sure that you have locked them in your brain and that you're using them to read and also able to spell most of them correctly. So we'll just review what's up here. Most of them we've had a lot of exposure to, but I still wanted to put some of them up there just as a refresher. So I want to start over in this area. This is more of the words that we've had more for a greater length of time. So I want to discuss those first. So over on this row, we have words that had the vowel team EE and EA, which actually made them quite easy to read. Once you remembered those vowel teams, the trick words became rather simple. This word is S with a vowel team EE, and we know the EE says E, so it's C. Vowel team EA and digraph CH is each. And this word is kind of, it coordinates with what we're learning about this week, which is two-syllable words. We're going to talk a little bit later this week about how to split two-syllable words, and quite frankly, it can be sort of challenging to make a decision about where you're going to split a word and what two syllables you get in the end. The best idea is to try it out, and if it doesn't seem like a reasonable word, then you move on and try some other way of dividing the word. We could look at this and say that it says between. We don't know between is a word, but it seems similar to a word that we might have heard, between. So we know that we're going to split it. We're going to split it right between the B, the word be, you can see that, and this other component of the word tween, with our vowel team EE in it. Okay. All of our question words, which are extremely important, you're going to have those question words in all kinds of subject areas. Questions are going to be asked about what you're reading, about the math you're doing, and all of those other types of subject matter. So it's really important that you're able to read those, but additionally, it's helpful to be able to write them and spell them correctly. So we'll review them real quickly. We have who, W-H-O, who, what, W-H-A-T, you hear the T at the end when you say the word what, and when, W-H-E-N. We also have the question word where, which is here, W-H-E-R-E. And I hung this other word up here because I know that they get confused. Where doesn't have that sound in it. Where has a slightly more blowy beginning sound. So that reminds us that it starts with WH. Where is over here. I also put up they because that's also a very, very important word. We will use it often in writing. So they is the Y for correct spelling. I'm going to move this up just a little bit so you can also see I have another word up there. These two words I put together because they both have the R control vowel ER at the end. And once again, this word has two syllables, just like between. Where do we split it? And again, that's what we're going to be talking about, I believe, tomorrow. We would split this number. So it's two syllables split between the M and the B. Number. And this word, which has R control vowel ER, also is two syllables. Where do we split it? If we split between the V and the ER, it says of-er. We would pronounce it of-er. Vowel followed by a consonant is short. So this would say of-er. And that really, we don't know a word of-er. We could retry it, split it between the O and the V, and the O is an open syllable, so we say over. So that is the correct answer. So we have the words number and over, our question words. And then with where, because they all end with E-R-E, we also have there and here. These words all have that vowel team OU that goes ow. So we have about, again, an important two-syllable word. When a word begins with A, not every time, but often that A sounds like a short U, about. So that is the two syllables. We split it between the A and the portion of the word that says bout, about. Those are the two syllables using the vowel team OU and the A that sounds like a U. So if you think of America or again or around, the A begins the word, it's its own syllable, and it sounds like a short U. Over here, out is just a portion of about. So here's out. All we have to do is take off the beginning of about, and we have out. And then our is vowel team OU with an R at the end. Again, if you know the vowel team well enough, this is something you can tap out. Our. These two words were new last week. You guys, most of you did a really good job on completing the fill in the blank worksheet. The two words, none, which is interesting because it says one, but if you put the N in front of it, it says none. Here, this word we pronounce nothing, but it's comprised of the two words no thing, which is kind of interesting that we've created that word. Let's go down here a little bit. Review put. The only reason I review put is because the vowel team OO goes and so you might be tempted to put vowel team OO. Put, however, is P-U-T. Sometimes when we read it, we'll say put. And there's a word putt, which you use when you're playing golf, but it wouldn't make sense in a sentence. Here we have our rhyming words some and come. Again, some is a frequently used word, especially in math, so it's good to know it. Any and many, also rhyming words. Any, the difficult part is that the A sounds like an E. Same is true with many, the A sounds like an E. How and now. Again, vowel team OW. If you know vowel team OW, you shouldn't have any difficulty recognizing that. And again, down, same idea. Vowel team OW, and if you tap it out, down, should be able to tap it out. We have these words, other and another, which are primarily confusing because of the O sound. We're again using an O sound that sounds like a short U, just like the A sound in about. Here we have other. So if you could kind of tap that out if the O were pronounced correctly. Same with an other. So the word another actually has two syllables. Now, question, do we say an other or do we say another? Depending on who you listen to, I've actually heard it pronounced different ways. I always say it another. So the split would be between the A and the another. Another. I'm assuming that's the way it is in the dictionary. I actually didn't look up the pronunciation guide, so I'm going to pursue that and let you know. Down here, these were words that I kind of introduced to you, not terribly formally, but I want to just review them. Look and good, use vowel team OO, but in this case the vowel team OO is going look, and good. We often think of the vowel team OO as saying ooh, but in this case it's I introduced friend to you, and I told you that even to this day, when I'm thinking in my head about the word friend, I say fry end, so I don't forget the I. Over here first, that word you saw every day with a capital F because of our morning greeting. And finally over here we have these other words, said, tricky only because it has AI, vowel team AI, which should say A, so it should say said, but it's not, it's an E sound, tricky part of our language. Very, same idea. The E sounds like an A in this word. It's very confusing, but that's the way our language has come together with the components of other languages and put together into one English language. Here we have words again with a vowel team AY. If you know your vowel team AY says A, these should be easy, day, may, and way, even say, and then we get to the tricky part, says. a Y in this case sounding like an E, who knows why, and S sounding like a Z, says. Today I'm going to introduce all the trick words for this week all at once, and I'm going to review them again later in the week, but because we're running short on time in this school year, I wanted to go ahead and make sure that you saw them. The first word, which I think is kind of cool, if you can sort of be creative in your thinking, this word says people, and the way I see it is there's a bunch of heads of people sort of hanging out there. So if I were to put some hair on here and some hair on here and some hair and maybe some eyes in each of them, it does look like a bunch of people. Now spelling it is the tricky part because you have this O in here, which there is no vowel team EO, and you don't hear the O, so it becomes tricky, but it's sort of right in the middle. So if you think in terms of that head right in the middle, sometimes that helps you to remember that O. Also, the pool, a lot of people tend to put P-U-L, people. You're going to find out there's a bunch of syllables that are spelled with a consonant and then the letters L-E. There's B-L-E, there's C-L-E, there's D-L-E. So if you are aware of that and you notice that, you'll know that all of them go like pool or dull or cool using that sound, but there's no U. It's P-L-E, C-L-E, D-L-E. So we're going to add people to our list under none and nothing and with another and other. The next word I want to add is a good one, and I'm actually going to maybe switch the people over so we can put this together with it. This word, I imagine a lot of you already know how to read it. You've recognized it. You see it a lot of times in fairy tales. The three little pigs, the three, well, it's not the three little bears, but we often see that word little used in fairy tales. At any rate, you'll notice something that I told you about people. At the end, there's this syllable, T-L-E. Just like the P-L-E, it's T-L-E. So that's at the end. So the way we say it, little, if we were to split it, because it has two syllables, we would divide it right between the two T's. That is generally the way we divide words that have two consonants that repeat. You'll be seeing that a little bit later this week too. When you have a double consonant, you usually split between the two consonants. So I'm going to put these in a different order. We're going to have little people, okay? We use the word little people when we think of elves and little people. All right, here's one word that's kind of throws things or throws a monkey wrench into things. This is vowel team OW. Now look over here. That looks like almost the same word, except this word has a D in front of it. This does not. This word is down. The OW says an ow sound, like how and now. In this word, this is the OW that says O, like in snow and row. So we're not going to say own, we're going to say own, own. Do you own it? It is my own doll or my own puppy, own. So I'm going to put it over here, give it some distance between those two because it is a different sound and we have to be really careful that we recognize that. Another word, month. If you tap this out, it almost looks the same as the way we say it. Month. Close, but in this case, in this word, the O sounds like a U. Month. So it's important to be very careful about how you spell it. You'll probably recognize it in text, but spelling it will be the tricky part. M-O-N-T-H. If you said it the right way, like when we say friend, we would say month, but it's month, like Monday. same tricky way. I'm actually going to move own over even further away from down, how, and now so we don't get that mixed up. And we're going to add the word month. And the last one, again, as I said, I'm going to review these with you later in the week just to make sure we're getting all these words down. They really help when you're reading. If you can quickly recognize them, you don't have to try and figure out what is it. Now, one of these two you've seen frequently. This is what we call an abbreviation. That means we took a bigger word, we shortened it, and we put a period at the end. That period tells us this is an abbreviation. This word is Mrs., and you've seen it on our greetings every single day. Mrs. Guy and Mrs. Crosscomb, or Mrs. Crosscomb and Mrs. Guy. Why there's an R in it, I don't know. I imagine it has something to do with the origins of it, but we want to remember that we're going to do MRS. And my hope is that you've seen it enough that it is kind of locked in your brain. So this is Mrs., and this is Mr., which you can hear an R, and it makes sense. This is the first letter in the word Mr. This is the last letter in the word Mr. So to abbreviate it, which means to make it shorter, we took out all those letters in between and got Mr. Mr. and Mrs. Mrs. looks a lot like Mr., but there's an S. And since we hear a lot of S's in the word Mrs., that helps us to remember that S at the end. So those are your trick words for this week. We still have quite a few to learn, so next week you're going to be inundated with trick words and word of the day words in the hopes that we can get as much substance out of what you need to know before the end of the year, which is coming rather rapidly. I hope you've all been doing well. I hope you've continued to enjoy reading books on Raz Kids. I know I'm seeing some really great jobs. A lot of you are doing well with quizzes. There's questions, mistakes here and there, but that's okay. We're still learning. We're still growing in what we understand and how we read. But I do encourage you to practice these words. I'm going to try and compile a collection of trick word cards that I can send out to you. Probably not some of the earlier ones. That wouldn't make sense, but some of the more recent ones, so that if you care to practice and go through them just to make sure that you, one, recognize them, and two, are able to spell them correctly, that would be really wise, a wise investment of time. All right, my friends, you take care. I will be seeing you again very, very soon. Bye.